going to call Vernon up, and we've got 5 minutes on the clock. Thanks, everybody. Give it up for Vernon.
I was 19, naive, and away from home. A really dangerous combination. I was bounding up the stairs, 2, 3 steps at a time. She said some people get nervous, but I didn't think I was nervous. I didn't feel like I was nervous. I was going up the staircase, bounding, and she said, she told me, she said, you know, all you got to do is watch. And I'm thinking, wow, where can I go wrong, right? As I opened the doors of the maternity, delivery, and labor, there was the nurse that called me up. She said, Airman, stand here. I stood there out of the way. Then she whispered, twins. Wow, I was so excited. It didn't take me long to figure out why they call it labor and delivery. She worked really hard. I mean, she worked really hard. Her husband was there with soothing voice and really encouraging her as she worked and worked and worked to have that baby. And he was soothed, and she worked and worked, and finally the baby was born. We were all so excited, the family was bonding, and we were all so happy for him, and all of a sudden I heard, oh shit! And he grabbed the scalpel of the doctor and he cut her open and looked and said, anesthetize her now. Then he scooped the baby up, handed it to the pediatrician, and said, medic, follow him. I followed the pediatrician over with a little bag, and he was putting puffs of oxygen, and the nurses were doing IVs and medicine to the baby, and they lost the baby, and then they got the baby back, and then they lost the baby, and then they stabilized it and sent it to the neonatal intensive care unit. They sent sister and mom to maternity, and I went back downstairs to my unit. My nurse asked, how'd it go? Well, I don't know. I saw the beauty of labor and birth, and then I saw a traumatic and violent emergency C-section, and they had the baby, and then they didn't have the baby, and I'm so confused. She said, you know, you got plenty of time. You'll figure it out. It'll settle in. She was right. After 4 years, I saw a lot of surgeries, births and deliveries, and some traumatic injuries. But there's nothing like that first time. Like the first time you fall in love. About 1.5 years after I got out of the service, it was my turn. My baby was going to be born soon. Well, you know, we didn't really want to know the sex, so we both decided to call the baby baby. And if the baby was a boy, it was going to be Corey. If the baby was a girl, it was going to be Shanna, after one of those romantic novels, you know? Don't get the novel. So anyway, we were really excited, and I talked to baby all the time. I told baby, I can't wait for your coming out party. And I told baby stories, and I read stories, and I made up stories to baby. And baby was getting closer and closer, and the day finally came. And we were in the labor room. And the doctor and the nurses, they were through the whole thing while she was having a really hard, tough labor. They kept saying, is it a Corey or is it a Shanna? Is it a Corey? Is it a Shanna? Is it a Corey? It's a Shanna! Oh, we were all so happy and rejoiced. And then my wife, she had been through such a hard labor. She was all blue and shaking. When the nurse said, would you like to hold Shanna? My wife said, no, I'm afraid I'd drop her. I'm really scared. And I spoke up. I said, I would love to hold Shanna. The nurse looked at me and she said, you've been talking to your baby during the pregnancy, haven't you? I said, yeah, I have. She said, we can tell which dads do that. The baby becomes really alert. The doctor looked at me and he said, congratulations. She must really like your story. You know what? She did. And I've been telling her stories ever since.